Odell Beckham Jr. and the Cleveland Browns have been having some issues lately. The star wide receiver, at least once a star wide receiver, is having a career low year pretty much across the board. His targets per game, catches per game, yards per game, pretty much are all at a career low. And this week, Odell Beckham Sr., so Odell's dad, posted a series of plays where OBJ was wide open or was open and either wasn't targeted by Baker Mayfield or just the throw was completely missed. And this obviously didn't sit well with the head coach of the Browns, Kevin Stefanski. Because of that, he told Odell to take the practice off. And this is coming out on Wednesday morning. So with the trade deadline already gone, um, Jen, I want to hear from you here. What are the options for the Browns moving forward, and what are the next moves with this Odell Beckham Jr. situation right now?
What they should have done is did what like the Broncos did, pay for his most of his salary, trade him away, essentially buying draft pick somewhere else. An ideal place would have been something like the Saints, or even Las Vegas at that point. Although I don't think Las Vegas and OBJ will be a really great match together, especially after what happened and everything. But it just, at this point, like what's most likely Brown's going to do is make him inactive, like what they're doing with Deshaun Watson, and I don't know, cut him at the end of the season. It seems like a bigger distraction, and the Giants got what they want out of the Cleveland Browns for sure. In the beginning of the trade, OBJ was coming out saying that they want to send me to a place to die, and the Giants effectively accomplished that.
Mm. Just a quick follow up question to you there, Jen. You mentioned keeping him until the end of the season and then cutting him. Why not just cut him now?
Well, there is, if I was an NFL GM, um, if I cut him now, I put him on waivers. Obviously, nobody's going to take him, and then he's free to sign whenever else with any other team. I'm still going to eat the cap money at that point. He might sign up to another, to one of my competitors, like the Ravens, for example. They were shopping for our receivers at the end of last season. If I can just put him on the ice until the end of the season, see how my season's going, and if I do need him, I'll activate him. If I don't need him, I'll inactivate him. And at this point, it just seems like it's something that the Browns shouldn't just cut him right away. Maybe just put him on ice.
Yeah, Brandon, what are your thoughts on this OBJ situation, and where do you think the Browns go next?
Look, if they hold on to them until the end of the season and just don't let him get a chance to do anything else, I hate that teams are doing that um, because you're potentially sacrificing any chance he has of revitalizing his career and just not letting him have success elsewhere by holding him off the squad here. Um, I mean, I don't think that's fair to a guy whose asset or moneymaker, the way he makes his living is by being athletic, catching footballs, and holding him off a football field ruins the chances of him potentially earning money. So potentially ruining his career. And I don't necessarily agree with that strategy, although I understand why they do it. It's not like the video surfaced after the trade deadline, so it's not like they didn't have time to sort of wave this around. And if he ends up going on waivers, that's the Browns' own fault for not getting any assets in return. Because there are teams, I mean, sure, he's got a bit of an attitude, but the scale of talent versus toleration is in his favor, I think, in a good system or with a QB that can aim or see open receivers. I have a hard time believing that nobody would have put in an offer for him. I know for a fact that the Patriots could use a number one receiver, and he might fit in pretty well in that system. We know they've got an accurate quarterback. But to talk about him in the Browns versus the Giants, you mentioned he's having a career low year. His entire stint with the with the Browns has sucked compared to the Giants. He's down almost half in targets per game, catches per game, yards per game. Is just he's not playing well under this system. This experiment failed, and they just need to cut their losses and move on. Regardless of the money thing, $8 million is not a ton of money to pay a receiver, and he's not due any guaranteed money at the end of this year, so there isn't really a huge cost to get rid of him. I think they should just cut him loose now that they didn't get any assets for him. Let the man play some football, potentially earn some money, and go somewhere where he wants to be. This obviously didn't work out. Everybody's seeing that. If your coach has sent you home from practice, there's like certain parts in a relationship where it's just too far to come back, and this seems like one of them. So just let the man go. Let the man go try to earn his living back. Take the money. Let him try to earn that next contract and just move on. You did well without him last year.
Very true.
Yeah, and I'm just pulling up the stats from when the trade was made and also what the Giants got out of it. Um, I mean, to be honest, I think the Giants also got shafted in the trade as well. They used their first round pick on Dexter Lawrence, which has been okay, but he never lived up to the expectation. And then as well as for the third round pick, he's still developing, but it seems like now he's down on a more of a backup role now. Um, so and then as well as the guard that they picked up, you know, he played every single snap, but you know the Giants' offensive line sucks in overall. So I think it was a lose-lose trade. I think that um, you know Cleveland didn't necessarily gave up too much for this experiment, even though it was a first-round pick and a third and a starting safety.
If the Rams have taught us anything, it's the draft capital ain't shit.
Mm.
Unless you're drafting like Tom Brady in the sixth round, or those may one make sense. But I think the Rams are at this point like I think the Rams are just like they don't care about what their futures are, and if they lose in the first game of the playoffs, I will be laughing my ass off because they will be fucked.
Hey, before we get to the Rams, there's one more topic that we can I kind of want to fit in the middle there. Um,